briefly before we delve deep into what then we'll be discussing, and we have the Waheshimiwas that are on standby already, and so I'll be introducing them as we get into this crucial conversation on how well prepared we are. Remember, we'll be looking at just how aspirants are flexing their muscles. We take a look at the preparedness of IEBC, the complaints that they're fronting, the proposals they're equally fronting, so that at least we can have adjustments on the laws, so at least they can guarantee us of a free and fair process, and probably not give us a scenario like what played out in 2017 in terms of the nullification of the presidential election. And generally, we also look at the process of voter registration so far, whether Kenyans are receiving it well. A report from the IEBC shows some level of disappointment in regards to how they had set up themselves, their calendars and their expectations. But moving on, we certainly hope that Kenyans will take up the challenge. We're probably a week into it. We still have about 20 days to go, or thereabout. We hope that Kenyans will come out in large numbers and register themselves as voters for various reasons. And we all understand how important it is for us to go and cast that vote. As one of the speakers has said, we do not have to wait for Mhesh to come and tell you, what, it is important that you proceed and cast that vote. Joining us this morning and right next to me is Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who's the Speaker of Nyandarua as well as the Chair of the County Assemblies. It's good to have you, sir, after a very long time. I am keen to understand what is happening in Nyandarua because it doesn't look all rosy, but all the same, we'll be coming to that. We have Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza, Member of Parliament Matuga. Good to have you once again.
Salama kabisa.
Sasa tena umeanza. Karibu sana.
Mzima kama kigongo cha mpingo.
Nafurahi kusikia. Lakini sisi in school we only learned mzima kama kigongo. It ended there.
Champingo.
Champingo ni nini?
Kuna vigongo vingine huwa vinaozaoza vinavunjika. Mpingo ni mtu mwingine ambao kigongo chake ni kama chuma. Sasa ukitaka kuzungumza Kiswahili sanifu kamili unasema mzima kama kigongo cha mpingo.
Mpingo is in the family of mahogany.
Yeah, but
mahogany, heavy,
exactly,
those ones. All right, well,
is it ebony or inaitwa ebony?
Those ones, the same family, yeah. All right, that's great. Mheshimiwa Nimrod Mbai, Member of Parliament Kitui East. Good to have you.
Yes, Linda, my sister. Morning.
Morning to you. If there are people who come close to knowing some bit of Swahili, then it should be the people from the region where he comes from. Wakamba wengi wamepotelea Mombasa sana, so
no, hawajapotelea, ni haki yao. Alafu tuna historia ya wale Wakamba wako pale Mariakani. In fact, ile neno Mariakani ukiuliza mzee anakuambia ni neno la Kikamba. Biaka. I think he can explain what
used to happen when we were doing this kina Chief Givoi wa Mwandwa.
Okay.
They were doing the long distance trade.
Yes.
So they would come with their bows and arrows.
Yeah.
Then they leave them at Mariakani before they enter Mombasa. So this Adiaka is a traditional container used to carry arrows. If you have 100 arrows, you can't hold them on your hand. So you put them in a container.
Okay.
So that container is the one which was termed as Diaka. So in Prulo is Madiakane.
So they will be left there and then it becomes, all
so
right.
You can see we have a long history.
I understand, it makes sense.
So you should not doubt why we are in One Kenya.
Okay, One Kenya Alliance. I don't want to guess, to get Mheshimiwa here lost, because I know when it comes to Swahili, you will get lost.
Obviously, I'm offside. I'll be better on to concentrate on English.
Yes.
That is better for me. And when now I'm in the other vernacular.
All right. It's good to have you. Are you in One Kenya Alliance? No.
No.
Then why is it that Mheshimiwa says that that's why we are in One Kenya? Or Kalonzo is Ukambani and Ukambani is Kalonzo.
In statistics, and numbers don't lie. They're always what you call outliers.
Okay.
Even when you get an extrapolation and get a straight line, you'll always get some dots outside. But that does not invalidate the whole equation. Yeah, so it's expected. Even when I say in costs, certainly it cannot be all cost areas and One Kenya. Even when we are talking about Western, not even Rift Valley. So that is expected. And it applies equally to Central now. You cannot say all the in one, but even, that's the way our Kenyan politics, which is also good.
It is good. It's a good, democratic angle. But many would want to ask him, Mheshimiwa, why go against the grain?
What grain?
We all understand the Ukambani grain somehow, and so many would want to.
Where did it come from?
You want to tell me you don't know where it came from?
No.
That Kalonzo is no longer the kingpin of Ukambani.
Things, and I'm a man, I can form mine, and people follow.
So why do you decide?
Okay. We think there are some people who are special and have come up with things which we should follow. We are men enough to form ours and get followed.
That's
Kalonzo was built by Moi, who was a Kalenjin. I'm working with Ruto, who is a Kalenjin. So a Kalenjin was better those days. A Kalenjin is evil these days. We can't go there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, karibu sana. Nyandarua.
Yes.
Probably we will get some advice from our brothers here, because it appears like this county is not functioning at all. The food basket, or at least what would be the food basket, one of the counties in the mountain region that lags behind, even development-wise. And we ask ourselves, just why?
I think, Rida, it is a very sad affair. When you talk about Nyandarua, it brings those images of a failed devolution agenda. And when you put it in the perspective that we have a governor who had risen to very high ranks in government, and that now he is in charge of a government that is completely dysfunctional, it is very, very sad. And I would say a governor who actually, surprisingly, engages in things that are completely very petty for anybody in leadership. Not even the level of a governor, the level of any leader, even at the village level. Like now, to give an example, leader, you know, he has always been saying that I've been removed from being the speaker. And when you ask him which numbers removed the speaker, Kimemia thinks that he can manipulate everything. That at the assembly, they can vote 20 against me, and Kimemia instructs the deputy speaker to pronounce that Dego Home has been removed by that. You know, simply I go to court, the MCAs swear affidavits, and they say we voted against that motion, we are 18, a total number of that 9, where did they get that from? And the court will always suspend that resolution. Most sad is like now the official vehicle of the speaker. I want to tell you how raw Kimemia can be as a governor and as a person. My vehicle was at Toyota, Kenya, the official vehicle of the speaker, assigned to me by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. After being repaired, Kimemia sends his CC for finance, using monies for the people of Nyandarua that should be used for other purposes, pays 350,000 shillings, the vehicle is taken away, and now they are using private number plates on the vehicle, and it is used by his family.
And you're certain about that?
Yes, I'm
backed
certain.
With facts and figures?
And I'm telling you, we have people who are ready to swear affidavits. And actually, I called when the vehicle was in Norkarau, with the private number plates, carrying his family. I called the county police commander, Zachary Kimani. I tell him my vehicle is on Norkarau. It is on private number plates. Can you do something? But because the police, as I have always said, work together with the Kimemia.
You are a lawyer.
That is the problem, yes.
You are a lawyer,
yes,
with proper understanding of the law. And this is not a problem that starts today. What is this one thing that stops the same to be addressed? One, based on the support that you claim to have. Two, based on the legal angle to it. Why is it that we still are going rounds and rounds? And you know, this one is equally affecting the performance of the House.
Leader, I think what requires to be done, and I'm talking with the Senate, so that they can form an ad hoc committee to come to Nyandarua. We have orders. Even the police commander in Nyandarua has been convicted by the High Court for contempt because of refusing to enforce the law. The county AP commander has been convicted of contempt because of refusing to enforce the law. The county commissioner of Nyandarua is a convict of contempt. I've done everything that requires to be done under the law. But unfortunately, Kimemia thinks that is above the law. Actually, and I told you the last time I was here, that Kimemia specifically said that court orders are mere pieces of paper. And people of Nyandarua now believe that what Kimemia says is true because nothing is happening.
All right, hold it. We're coming back on that very note. We're not here to talk about Nyandarua, so worry not. But I think it's only fair that sometimes we look at some of these things briefly. So we take a quick break and we come back on that very note.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Slaty, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
Wakenya wengi wanazidi kusaidika katika Airlight Show. Kuna mtu anaenda nyumbani na shilingi 1,100, yani 100,000. Je, ungependa iwe ni wewe? Ili kushiriki, tuma shilingi 50 peke yake katika till number 5943565. 5943565. Kumbuka, katika Airlight Show tuko na zawadi nyinginezo kama vile ploti, boda, school fees, gas cooker, smartphones na laptops. Je, ungependa hizi zawadi na shilingi 1,100 iwe ni yako? Ili kushiriki, tuma shilingi 50 peke yake katika till number 5943565. 5943565. Na hizi zawadi na shilingi 1,100, yani 100,000, yaweza kuwa yako. Shiriki sasa hivi.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to the broadcast. We still have the Speaker of Nyandarua County, Ndegwa Wahome, the Member of Parliament of Matuga, that is Honorable Kasim Sawa Tendaza, and we also have the Member of Parliament of Kitui East. Yes, Honorable Nimrod Mai. Karibu sana once again. And so on that very note, I'll love for the other gentlemen to weigh in briefly, because these are political matters, and therefore in as much as they do not find themselves into the House, it's important that they also weigh in on the same. Why I want them to weigh in on this is because Honorable Kasim Sawa, we have witnessed what has been happening over the past in regards to Nyandarua, and news is being collected left, right and center, and like he says, this has gone down to the people of Nyandarua, and services are stalled up because of the indifferences that are evident. Same has happened at the national level. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, it's not been all rosy. What does it speak, and what would it take to bring in sanity? It's been like a cool 5 years of this drama in Nyandarua County. Then you ask yourself, is the first reign of Kimemi right? Then just how much has he done for the people? And what then is the essence of devolution?
Well, Linda, to me, I'm looking at it from a very sad situation about this country, where those in power just ignore court orders. It's not about Nyandarua, but I think you can enumerate so many examples from the highest office of this country, where court orders are just ignored and left. CSAs have ignored court orders, and any other who is who in this country. So that is a very sad situation, because in essence we are saying at the end of the day we are going to have a country without the rule of law. And without the rule of law, then what happens? It has happened either through the executive, the power through the executive, or sometimes through corruption. Yeah, you can have a court order, but if the court order is against somebody up there, moneyed for that matter, of course they can compromise the whole system and nothing happens. So to me, that is the saddest part of this country, not just about Nyandarua, but the saddest part of this country. For the county governments, of course, they directly, they're oversighted by the Senate. So I cannot see so much coming into the National Assembly where I sit. But even from the Senate and the National Assembly, we operate basically under the same standing orders. We can investigate a matter here, but ultimately we more or less, apart from issues of impeachment of governors, where they can uphold or not, more or less it ends up as advisory. This is our advice, more investigation, or can this person be investigated further, can he be taken to court? But it's more or less of an advisory nature. Yeah. So you do not expect enforcement coming from, in most cases, from the National Assembly and from the Senate. For his particular case, I think we would also look at the role of the county assemblies in total, not just Nyandarua, but in the county assembly. Because a speaker is normally voted by the members of the county assembly. He's not appointee of the executive. He's not appointee of the governor. So now, I'm not sure of the numbers in the county assembly of Nyandarua, but I think it could have gone either way. If the members of the county assembly feel that this is the speaker we voted for and this is the speaker we want, then they can as well paralyze any proceedings until they get their speaker. Yes, and that is the only way now Kimemia will not have any other or a governor, for that matter, will not have any much leeway but to let the speaker come in, because he cannot even have his budget approved. Without budgets being approved, which is done by the county assembly, then he's basically stuck. He might not even have fuel for the cars that we are talking about. Right. So I think this is a special case where I think there could be more from, yes, the governor, but also from the members of the county assembly, how they've been able to operate all this long, knowing very well that there is a speaker who is basically been out illegally, So what kind of compromise is there? But going forward, I think it's high time. Devolution is basically quite a young baby. But going forward, I think as we mature with the devolution, the members themselves, the voters, will be able to vote members, county assembly members, based on merit, based on the potential that they have, based on the vision that they have for that particular county, because for such a situation will not happen. And even for governors, they'll be voting now governors who they think will be standing for them for running properly of that county. Otherwise, for a situation where we've been voting based on this is my man, comes from my clan, he's been doing this, or probably he's the one he's been able to give the best. Tunaita mbumu kule kwetu. It's a bribe, basically, the monies that we dish out. I'm not putting myself out, but politicians, and that forms the basis of the voter voting in. Then we would be in for quite a long time of drama in such situations. Otherwise, it's something that... Out. No, I've not put myself out.
Why are you not? You can confidently say, I have not. Anyway, that aside.
No, I'm a politician. I don't want to
by default, you will find yourself doing that without...
claim to be an angel, you see.
Before Mheshimiwa Nimrod Bai comes in, briefly, what I would want to expound on is that the rule of law does not apply in Nyandarua. Constitutional order is absent in Nyandarua. Like now, the assembly has not sat legitimately since April. But we filed a budget, the Nyandarua budget that is under implementation and which has been suspended by the control of budget. Nobody has seen who has signed it. Okay. The budget, a very critical document. The appropriation law that allows expenditure on the budget, nobody knows who signed it.
We understand because the powers of the members of county assemblies. Would they just let things go loose like that?
I'm saying, Rida, you need people to come to Nyandarua. That is only the time you understand the issue of Nyandarua. The rule of law does not apply in Nyandarua. What the people want does not apply. What the members of the county assembly would want might not be applying in Nyandarua. Nyandarua is a different place. Kimemia is ruling Nyandarua like a tin god. Are
we breeding mafias and demigods in this governance that we have today?
Linda and my Waheshimiwa here, in Nyandarua is where the speaker has no control over the internal security protocols in the county. Okay. The APs who purport to guard the assembly without invitation by the assembly, they will allow thugs who are armed by machetes into the assembly. They get into the assembly at 5 in the morning to lay in wait for the speaker to come and attack him. I go there with the county police commander and I tell him, because of the right intelligence, there are 8 armed thugs inside here who have been brought by the governor. And the county commander, they will not be interested in breaking in to get into the assembly. That is how we have gone. That is just chaos. There is no order in Nyandarua, and I'm telling you, Kimemia is running roughshod like a tin god. In Nyandarua, he is an emperor of Nyandarua, and I cannot understand where he is getting these powers from, because he is budding and shouting names from every corner. It is a problem, and I have really thrown plea to the president himself. President said he is the governor number one of Nyandarua. You cannot be governor of number one in a country run that way, like a criminal enterprise, because Nyandarua is truly a criminal enterprise.
Well, they say there's an existence of the deep state, words of Kimemia himself. Yep. And we'd not want to go by what it is that Mheshimiwa says unless backed with facts and figures. Well, we can only listen to what it is that he says. I don't know what you make of this whole situation, because you see, it is the people that suffer at the end of the day.
You know, Linda, there are some loopholes in the law that demonstrates devolution. As Mheshimiwa Tandaza said, our devolution is growing, it's young. Because when you look at the County Government Act and the law that governs the operations between the executive and the county assembly, it should be a replica of what happens in the national government. Because the work of the assembly, county assembly, is to oversight the executive, the governor and the team. The work of the National Assembly, where we see to the Mheshimiwa Tandaza, is to oversight the national government. The National Assembly as the Parliamentary Service Board, which now controls the budget of the Parliament, independent of the executive. No interference from the president, no interference from the Minister of Finance. They just give money to the Public Service Commission. The MPs appoint commissioners who run now the budget office. But when you go down to the county assemblies, you find that yes, there is the county administrative unit, which now is given money, part of the budget that is sent to the county assembly, but they don't have overall power on their expenditure. The clerk will approve for payments, but he has to take to the CEC in charge of finance for the final payment through central bank. That's where the governor gets some powers over the county assembly. Okay. The governor can freeze money to the county assembly. The president cannot freeze money to the national government. So I think something has to be changed under the County Government Act and the finance operations, the rules around the finance operations, because the county assembly can't be an oversight body to an institution which has powers over them, in terms, and you know, money is everything. If the government decides the speaker will not get fuel, the speaker will not get fuel. If the government decides there will be nothing in the assembly, there will be nothing in the assembly, because the CEC in charge of finance is an appointee of the governor. So that has to change. The county assemblies have to be divorced in terms of financial operations from the executive. The CEC in charge of finance can't be the one making payments for county assemblies. That has to go. Something has to be done about that. Secondly, what is ailing in Nyandarua, and it's also a problem in many other counties, although now this is very much pronounced. You know, you've heard about this deep state thing.
Yes.
When some people, you've heard of a governor who is supposed to be investigated by EACC, or a governor who has issues and they are supposed to be taken to court, and it's just played in a manner, and the governor doesn't end up to court. Then you find another governor who is actually has committed a lesser offense than another governor, and because this governor who has committed the lesser offense, the bigger offense, has connections with the state, they are set free and they are around the country doing their thing, and you will see them now in rallies and in offices somewhere in Capitol Hill being cleansed.
This party affiliation thing, or this aspect of where you align to politically, I know in a huge way it plays part. Like for instance, in Nyandarua and for his case, the scenarios where there's been claims that he affiliates to the deputy president, and maybe that's why he's facing all this. But I can tell you that his troubles do not start today, and they probably started way before. The DP gained momentum as he has done in the country. So why would we want to connect that to party affiliations, to whom you know and whom you do not know?
Basically, that is politics for you. Politics is about power. So, and politics is immediate, as in what is happening that day. If I have power, I have to use it today. So that means I deal with things. In Kikamba, there is a saying that when the crown is removed, it remains just like another mabati. It is no longer important.
That's right.
So, but when the crown is there, it is a sense of power. So, when someone is close to power and they are not even holding any kind of office, let me give you a very typical example today. Raila Odinga is not holding an elective office. He is not holding an administrative office in the government of Kenya. And he is instructing ministers. How do you instruct ministers when you are not elected by anybody, when you are not appointed as a chief executive for ministers?
What's the most notable example of him instructing a minister?
Even yesterday, he was talking about curfew. Will be fuel. He said there's going to be prices will go down. How do you say that?
Is this a leader who has connections and is lobbying on behalf of the people?
No, everybody is lobbying. Even myself I lobby. Even Tanda's a lobbyist. But
But he has more connections.
If I say,
yes. Give credit for that.
Talk of connections.
Yes, it goes back to what you were saying.
Yes. Why these connections? When then we have someone else who is rightfully elected in a constitutional office through the law.
And he's probably not lobbying enough.
Like a speaker of the county assembly, being frustrated by a police county commander. And you find someone else who is not elected by anybody in this country, is just a nobody, actually is being saluted by the same county commander. There's a problem there. And that means the government is misusing its powers to cover those who are politically affiliated to it. We have, and I believe our democracy will mature to some point where now the executive, what we call the civil service, will work void of politics of the day.
All right.
If you are police inspector general, you will not mind who is affiliated to who. You know what the law says about the work of a police inspector general. You know what the law says about the work of a police county commander. You don't need to know who is affiliated to who and who does what. That's where we should go. And I believe the thickest darkness comes before shine. Kenya is at its thickest darkness today. It's just a few hours before we get to dawn. And there will be light. And take it from me, it can't go like that. It can't happen.
All right, let's wait and see. Mheshimiwa, let's shelve that for a moment. We keenly observe what will happen. Honorable Cousin Tandaza, as we briefly look at the papers, maybe 2-3 stories. The ICJ ruling. I don't know whether now we'll do best what we are known to do, contempt of court. Now that as a country, I don't want to say unanimously, but the key figures, the president himself say, you know what, we will not go by that ruling. We have to make sure that we protect our waters. We have to make sure that we protect our boundaries. We have to make sure that we protect all that belongs to the people of Kenya.
Well, Linda, I have to put a disclaimer here. I'm not a lawyer, but a member of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. So I'm a qualified arbitrator. And I've had this debate now for the last 3 days. Some prominent lawyers, some professors, Akina Wajakoya and whatever, have been commenting on this one. And from where I sit as an arbitrator, I think legally Kenya lost it on a technical point in law, you see. when you don't want to participate in arbitration or in the court of law, you refuse from the onset. You see, they would have said, we're objecting on these grounds, and not try to reply onto the matters saying that you are looking for some plans, you are looking for some maps, because the moment you do that, you are actually have accepted to participate.
If they did not,
so technically, to me,
let me ask this as you continue. If they literally participated and say it's all right, then you join in, do you suppose in any way this would have changed the ruling?
Unfortunately, for Kenya, with our history, we've never won any case at the international court. Be it, we have that history, and
so
numbers don't lie. Yeah, unfortunately, we tend to either we don't get qualified legal minds, or for some reason we go into our usual ways of corruption that would want a cut even when we do. There is no cut to be taken and all that. So for me, historically, we will still lose, given our history of losing at such discussion. We've lost on even very simple matters, where you have a contractor, and that was an international. I'm an engineer, so I'm in the construction business. I can comment on that. You have a contractor who has failed, is on default. It's an international tender, he's been able to perform. So you terminate that contract, he goes to an international court, and he still wins. He still wins, So for this one, I don't know this time around what would have changed. But for me, the current argument, technically, we lost it as a country by attempting to participate and then withdrawing. It doesn't work that way, even in arbitration. You see, that is one. Two, the second point now is even the enforcement now. We come to the enforcement.
Yes.
So I think our president, I will just take it up from the point of our president. He knows very well that ICJ has no mechanism to enforce. And probably the only way now to go is if Somalia was to say now they are going to enforce it on their own, given now that they have a ruling on that matter. But I think, to me, that would be the worst that can happen. I don't think we need to go into war with any other country. And then even Kenya, we don't have a history of war. Remember Migingo? I think Migingo was also a very straightforward case where some survey was done. Somehow the results came out. I remember His Excellency Museveni himself saying, well, Migingo is in Kenya, but the waters are in Uganda. I don't know how that, but that was from Museveni himself. And we've never gone into war. So, to me, I think we need to up our game generally when it comes to international matters. Any international matter which definitely costs the sovereignty of this country, it costs the taxpayers' money of this country. I think our AG or the legal team at the highest level should now take this matter seriously. And I know they are better placed than even most of us. We have very experienced lawyers there. But why they don't take it up to the conclusion, I think that's what baffles. I can only take it back to corruption. And for how long are we going to continue with this kind of situation?
For how long? And like he says, even the Migingo and many other issues that we have at hand, in most cases, there's been that conversation that, even our forefathers envisioned that such could play out, because these are troubles that we're getting right from, back then. And, on a gentleman's agreement, on a neighbor's agreement, in most cases we have managed to coexist. And so they say the best way to handle this could have been a gentleman's agreement. Kenya requested Somalia for that, but Somalia, was confident, maybe confident that they would be winning this, or this ruling would come in their favor, and therefore they did not opt for that direction. What does it speak? Remember, we are speaking of a scenario where Kenya says that, this is it. There's no room for appeal, and like Mheshimiwa says, the ICJ then leaves it at that. What happens?
I think it is a very big problem. We can make pronouncements from the comfort tower of our boundaries, but then the international community is watching. And when you don't abide by international law or international decrees, then obviously there will be a lot of sanctions that will come even to affect us the way we engage economically with our bilateral partners across the world. And I can tell you, when you look at the Americas and Europe, and when it comes to a country that will not be following the dictates of an international tribunal like the International Court, then there will be problems for us. But as Mheshimiwa Tadasa said, I think I was not surprised by what happened. The Office of the Attorney General actually has let this country down. The government of Kenya is losing billions in matters, local cases here. Very simple matters, because I've been a lawyer for the last 25 years. And I can tell you, in so many cases where the Office of the Attorney General will be winning, it will never win, because they are just cutting deals at the expense of this country. Therefore, it is a very sad situation. And the other issue is, why an Attorney General of this country, the legal advisor to the government, could advise that they enter appearance and actually attend some sessions of the International Court, and then withdraw. And therefore, when you have attended, you have shown your intention to participate, and then you withdraw, then where does it leave you? I think this is very careless. And the last time we dealt with the issue of the BBI and how it was handled by the Office of the Attorney General, I had said in this station that the President should actually attend to that office and ensure that we have credible people who are running the Office of the Attorney General. Because this actually is a disaster for this country. It is something that can expose this country to a war that is completely unnecessary. And with the Office of the Attorney General and the kind of powers within him to access all the information that he wants from everybody in this country, he should have been able to sit and look at all the issues critically and be able to reach a decision that this is the way to go. So that this country, it is not only for us now, it is even for the future. So that we know as a country that we are studying on our boundaries and that we have credentials to so continue studying.
You know, Honorable Bai, when we speak about the Office of the Attorney General and generally the advisors that sit with the President, you know, and the key advisors of the country, there was Attorney General Githu Muigai. There is Attorney General Paul Kihara. He had his fair share of flaws, and in fact, lots of complaints as to how he handled some of the things that he was supposed to handle, the legal matters that pertained to, you know, the arguing the cases of the President. That is Attorney General Githu Muigai. Such is as well, you know, playing at this time of the reign of Paul Kihara. What does it speak of this particular office? Is it the individuals that we pick, or just what exactly goes into there? Is it the systems that lie therein, and generally the legal advisors of the country?
I would not want to look at this matter through the legal perspective. Though you've said we comment on it. And I believe, as Mheshimiwa has said, the people advising the President on matters legal and even political have messed up for the last few years. The last like 6 years. And it has come to its epitome in the last 2 years. But going back to this ICJ ruling and our water boundaries with Somalia, I think one of the reasons Kenya withdrew from the court process is, I would give it a positive comment.
Right.
Because there is what we call in international relations and how countries relate out there, there's what we call international anarchy. There is no international police, and nobody can force any country to do what they don't want to do. What you need is to have enough firepower to defend your position. Let me give you a typical example. American president will order his military to go to Iraq and overturn the government and hang the president. And no American soldiers are not subjected to ICC. Then you find a Kenyan president is subjected to ICC. President Bashir of Sudan is subjected to ICC. A president in this world is being subjected into ICC, to ICC. Then a soldier, a private, who has caused atrocities in another country is not subjected to ICC just because of that international anarchy. There's no police to arrest America, no police to arrest Kenya, no police to arrest who this. What we use is some other kind of power to what Wakili speaker was saying, just to enforce maybe economic sanctions and the rest. So if I think Kenya foresaw a loss, they will lose the court argument, then decided instead of going in and we come out with mud on our face, we would rather stand firm and say we are not interested, and we will not go by that ruling, because actually we are going to withdraw from the ICJ, and we know our boundary, and it is our business to protect our boundary, and we don't care who comes in. Secondly, that is the positive part of it. Secondly, going back to the deep state and the government, you've heard about people having offshore accounts, people having investments in other countries and owning land in other countries. You know, we are talking about invisible borders. We are talking about somewhere in the middle of international waters. This is what we work with is coordinates. As in Kenya, it reaches to this coordinate, then America, this is, Somalia, these are your coordinates. So me, what I saw in this, there is a bigger deal, the way Mheshimiwa Tandaza is putting it. There's something behind it, whereby maybe Kenya, and not maybe, somebody somewhere, this place is said to be rich in oil and gas. So why would, if I was in position, I would want to position myself in a way that Kenya loses some part of his bit, then I gain it individually. Instead of this part being Kenyan, we co-own it with an Irish fella or with an American fella. Then the border moves, and then the ruling is like that, and we later agreed diplomatically with Somalia, and the whole agreement comes to it's me who is going to benefit with the no man's land, because the boundary, as you saw from the ICJ, the boundary is not one, as in you can't take this exact point. There is a point that is coming inside to Kenya's side from the initial border, and there is another space that is going inside Somalia. So there is like a no man's land somewhere, and we don't know how many kilometers it is, and we don't know where most of the oil and the gas is. So you may find somebody within these systems, we are saying people misadvising the president and the rest, as we speak, they own that with some of the biggest oil explorers in this world, just through this ICJ thing. That's the reality for you. By the end of the day, that will find out, you get to find out that's the reality. Divide and rule, and they have successfully done that. Yes. Well, as you know, most of the times we say we call oil the black gold. You know, it's been one of the best things for the people of Africa, but equally one of the greatest things that is a misfortune to them, because we have oil even in Turkana, but the people of Turkana continue to languish in poverty. Starvation is down there. Anyway, we look at the country here in terms of preparations of the elections. Let's pick it up from the preparations of IEBC so far, and the claims that they have that they've been underfunded. That has been there for the longest of time, and they now seek to have some changes on the law so that this will help them, you know, fix the Elections Act and, you know, make sure that at least they can guarantee us a free and fair, you know, and an election process that is not costly or would not end as, you know, into a point of nullification like we saw in 2017. I don't know, as it stands right now, it appears like it is almost automatic that we're likely to go for a runoff, at least as of now, if we are to conduct an election, from what, you know, pundits have to argue. I don't know what you make of IEBC's preparedness and these proposals that they now present to the National Assembly, and you know, that is to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, you know, just to see some changes, about 20-something or thereabout laws, one of them Section 44 Act, to provide for a complementary mechanism of the transmission of presidential results, and so much more in terms of guaranteeing us a free and fair process.
Well, Linda, let me start from the budget point of view. Yes. And I've been on record before that unfortunately for Kenya, any enterprise normally is budgeted with a cut in it. You see, it cannot happen that in Kenya, we are in Africa, we are running the most expensive elections, you know. Yeah. How can it happen that it's only us? And remember, we even don't have the money. That is why we are saying we cannot fully fund it. But we are running the most expensive election. That it should not be the case. But as I've always put it, be it in SGR, be it in any road construction, be it in geothermal, any enterprise that comes into being, normally we started with the 10%. And I'm a scientist. I think now we are running up to a situation where we'll be talking about 60% commission.
Yes, commission.
And it's unfortunate if ultimately it will end up at 100%. That means, and I think there are some projects which have actually run at 100% commission, where the commissions are paid, money is paid to the contractor, and nothing is done at all. That means the whole project was at 100% commission. Nothing was meant to be done. So that is the unfortunate thing. And until IBC, to me, comes quite clean on this chicken gate issue, it really, whenever I mention IBC, it really pains me. How come there was corruption, proved, people convicted in UK, agree that they gave money to the Kenyan officials, that is IBC officials, and here nobody is no, you know, this is a Kenya for you. I think this was it Michael Jessup, the peculiar habits of Kenyans. I think now we are taking them too far. These peculiar habits, we are taking them too far, and at the end of the day, they are proving to be very costly to the taxpayer. So that is, I don't believe if IBC was to work strictly just on terms of delivering the general election, they will decide that they're underfunded. Remember, even in the last general election, they still said they didn't have enough money, but what happened? It is on record from the Auditor General. There were some items ordered which arrived way past the general election, you see. So you wonder, what was the purpose if we did without them?
Why
and billions were spent on procuring those items. So you can see the inefficiencies, and I think these are deliberate. I don't think they're just incompetent. These are deliberate steps in terms of cutting deals and cutting cuts. So if IBC were to conduct this general election prudently, I think they can still work within their budget.
And not necessarily, all right, about the laws.
Yeah, about these laws, I've been able to go through them. I actually support, if they are to come to the floor of the House, I support, especially on the point where they're saying, once the results are announced at the polling station, because that's one of the proposals. I'm not able to quote the exact article. But once the results are announced at the polling station, those are the results that even at the main tallying center, be it Bombers or wherever, those are the results that they would stand. And I cannot even understand why there was room. There was room initially that they can announce different results from those ones which are announced at the polling station. Who could vote within 1 hour between the polling station and the transmission? That was so to me, the proposal they have, I think, they will make our election process much more transparent, which I think is good for this country. But of course, again, sometimes the main problem is how are these people recruited? Because even with a good system, it is the person manning that system that matters. Even in a computer, we've always known the basics that garbage in, garbage out. Right. So I think generally in Kenya, the problem that we are having, I don't want to throw any aspirations on the current commissioners, but how are they recruited? Were they recruited competitively based on their transparency and their, when they are subjected to Chapter 6, that is on integrity, ethics and integrity, was that one followed? In most cases generally, and that is where the problem is, people are put into offices based on know-who, not on know-how. And for that case, then, they are bound now not to act transparently because they were not recruited in the first place transparently. That is where the problem is.
Comes in.
But for me, I hope this time around, IBC has my benefit of doubt until they prove me otherwise. But please let them not prove me otherwise. This time around,
let's do something good. Speaker, I am told, at least as of Tuesday, the voter registration process, wasn't as impressive in Mount Kenya region. And it's not news anyway, because we still have lots of days ahead of us. But what does that speak?
I think maybe to weigh in on first on the amendments to the laws.
Yes.
And I would thank the panel that really recruited the new commissioners, the 4 commissioners. Because there were so many big names. And I had expected the same old tired faces would still come to fill the spaces within the Electoral Commission. Actually, we have refreshing, very refreshing faces that are now occupying that space, and I believe that they will bring innovation and progress in their thinking. So for that one, that was a plus. The other issue is that at this time, Linda, is that justice should not only be done, it should be seen to be done. And there is no bigger justice than delivering an accountable and fair results after a general election. And therefore, from what the summations that the IEBC has done to the JRAC Committee of the National Assembly, I think the National Assembly should hit the ground running on it. And we have Waheshimiwa here to ensure that that is done. Because one, most of the amendments that they are bringing are those issues that were highlighted by the Supreme Court. That there are things and there were gaps within the law that required to be addressed. And they have been addressed through these proposed amendments. On the other area, there were some provisions in the IBC Act which were declared unconstitutional, but they still remain in the law. They just require to be removed. And then there is the mischief that we all know as Kenyans that do exist. And an amendment to the law always comes to cure some mischief. And I think these proposed amendments by IBC, they meet the 3 constitutional thresholds of causing an amendment to the law. And therefore, I think it is in the right place. And I think for the National Assembly, and to ensure that this country after August 2022 moves forward as a harmonious and one united country, that they should ensure that the laws that govern the pronouncements of results after the votes are cast, they are free and fair and acceptable across board. For the Mount Kenya, I would want to say that it is that peculiar habit by Kenyans again, that we shall rush during the last 2 days. You will see lines in Mount Kenya running for kilometers in the last 2 or 3 days of the registration. So I know they are coming. But also the youth bloc is actually disinterested in what is happening. They think that the country has let them down and that it has forgotten them. And actually, when I have talked to them, to the youth in Nyandaro, they are completely not interested. They think that whether they vote or they don't vote, this country will never come to their aid. It will not help them. It will not create the right environment for their prosperity. And therefore, it is a very sad situation, because we are telling them that it is only by having that vote and casting it that they can change their destiny and that of their children. So it is a big, big issue. And I think as leaders in this country, from the church to teachers to everyone, we should be able to sit with our families, because the family is the primary unit, and talk to our children, talk to our relatives, and show them the importance of getting that vote and casting it in the right manner.
Maybe it's on that very note that you find the presidential hopefuls today coming up with proposals that would appear to entice the youths. We are having proposals that would appear to entice households, so that these households now can tell their children proceed and register as voters. We speak of what Right Honorable Raila Odinga speaks of, which is the in thing right now. The presentations that he submits to the people in terms of what he is likely to do, the social welfare plan that he has for the people of Kenya. We remind ourselves of what the Hustler Nation is presenting. We remind ourselves what it is that ANC is equally presenting, what it is that Wiper Party is presenting, what it is that KANU is presenting. They all revolve around, making sure that we're able to resuscitate our economy. They all revolve around making sure that youths would be guaranteed of jobs, and households getting that feel that the government really cares. But they appear not to be as realistic. I would hate to subject us to a scenario where we'll focus on one, that of Right Honorable Raila Odinga, or that of the bottoms-up approach. But I'm afraid we have no choice but to discuss some of these proposals, these things that are likely to find themselves into the manifestos of the leaders.
Maybe Linda on IBC before you go there. Since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution by the former President Mike Baki, the creation of independent bodies to oversee some of these things, and especially the IBC.
Yeah.
You know, before then, we had so many issues around IBC. Isaac Hassan, was it Isaac Hassan should go, is not good because somebody has lost.
Yeah.
It was who should go because somebody had lost. But you know, it was tried on Chebukati after this general election. That he has messed up because of the ruling by the Supreme Court. He has to go, but the law around the independent body secures his job. He can't go just by trying your monkey tricks. So that has given some strength to the commissioners to take decisive decisions, and that gives some element of maturity to our democracy, where the people heading the refereeing body are neutral because they don't mind that they can be pushed out because of unfair decision to some team.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why you can see some of these proposals coming in. Before then, it was a challenge. You know, you have to consult with the deep state. Do we forward these proposals so that they can be working your way, or do we do this? Remember when the BBI was proposing that the big political parties will nominate members, commissioners to the IBC. What about a small party? Then it comes out that the small party is the one which will get popular the next election and win. How will they handle the IBC? Taken care of? And the IBC was very clear, we can't go there. It's against the law. So first of all, administratively, I give credit to Chebukati and his team. Administratively, they are doing a very good job. The proposals they have made to Parliament for enactment of or appealing of some of these acts, they are actually what has been ailing us in our electoral process. If enacted, from where I see it, I'm very supportive to that. Because it is at the polling station where the votes are cast and where the votes are counted. So what is this? What are these other votes coming from? Where are they coming from? And that's what we should deal with. Because there was room, as in polling station 24/7, it's a polling station. Linda got 100, Speaker got 20, Mheshimiwa got 300, Nimrod got 2. And by the time they arrive in Bomas, Linda has 1,000, he has 20, he has 3, I have 2. Where was this changing? You know, that is a loophole that has to be closed for us to have a fair election. Because it's too bad. You know, it said it's wananchi who hold the sovereignty of our country. So if wananchi can make their decision, then it's changed midway by some other people, by some cartels, by the deep state, by whoever. You know, that is actually anarchy in our country. So this is a welcome move and we'll support it. About the budget, I don't agree with the IBC. They are underfunded, but also they're asking for so much. This country has its own issues to give so much for an election.
What if they can give so much and account for every single coin and justify that we needed this?
You know, there's no way you can be given money and fail to account.
But we have issues of accountability to date. They can tell you that even to date it's not clear of how the monies, and the procurement processes were conducted during the previous electioneering period.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody somewhere has to make a decision. I throw in my budget. This is what I want. But even your kid will tell you, Mom, I want this for this. So can you break it down? You break it down. So instead of buying 10 pence, you will have to go with 3. When you come up a midterm, we'll check if we can get an extra one. And because you are the source, you are the one giving the money. It is not the kid who is looking for the money. So IBC brought its budget to Treasury, and Treasury are clear, and Parliament is also joining the Treasury, that this is so expensive to run an election in our country. So you have to do with what is available. So it's if you give them the whole budget of our country, if the whole budget of our country that is comes from treasury is given to IEBC, they will account for it, and you will see nobody to take to EACC for corruption, because they have accountants, they have all these good people with the numbers. No, they can balance the books. So accounting is not the issue, but working with the budget is the issue. Let me give you an example. You go to a rural constituency, there is an IEBC clerk. He is paid 3,000 per day. 3,000 per day, at the day is at the fella is at the polling station. Then we had the other day, was it Kazi Mutani? Kazi Mutani, the same young people, fellas, were being paid 470 something, 400, 500 shillings. Why pay someone when they are overseeing an election 3,000 shillings, and someone who is doing Kazi Mutani 500 shillings? Even if you are to add something on this fella doing the IBC job, at least make it 1,000, not 3,000. It's too high. Okay. You see, a normal training session, you know, when these clerks are appointed, they all congregate
for training.
For training. They take home like 3K. You have come for training and you get an allowance of 3K, for heavenly sake. And
you think that is too much? Well,
that is too much, and this is not.
It's a one-time thing. It's a one-time thing.
You are already benefiting from a training. You should be paying for training.
If we speak about our allowances today, members of parliament should not be speaking about the aspect.
I disagree on that matter.
What we should be looking at is the economy of our country. Even 10K is okay.
Would we not start saying that we should not get allowances for the sittings?
What I'm saying, this is important. If the budget was there, it's okay even to get 10,000. But for sure, you know where we are today and how things are looking at.
Are there adjustments that have been made to the sitting allowances of members of parliament?
Of course, yes. A lot has been done. A lot of money during the corona period was returned back to even every constituency now has less 12 million of its money.
And they think the same would not be demanded back?
It's a challenge. Ask Mheshimiwa.
Mheshimiwa, there you go.
We can't trace the money.
You know, we come here to
it is very clear because of the economy. The money may not be available.
Acceptance on that. All right.
I'm sorry for this particular time. I have to differ a bit with my closest neighbor, my right-hand neighbor here, Mheshimiwa, who we sit in the same house. When it comes to the issue of the budget of IBC, to me, I think the elephant in the room is the corruption from, do they still operate from Anniversary Towers or from where? That is where the problem is. And I think that is where all the monies end up. But when it comes to monies which go to paying people on the constituencies, you know, this become now devolved funds, Mheshimiwa. I would want to look at it this way. This become now, it's, would you call it trickle down? Yeah, because it's coming from up there, now it's going to the lowest person, the clerk and the presiding officer and whatever. And remember, in this country, and I believe, fortunately, Mheshimiwa more or less comes from, I think, your constituency, rural, just like mine. You are having a situation where, from one's place to the polling station, up to this time, we are having polling stations which could be about 7 kilometers away from each other, you know. So the issue of distances, and okay, in Nairobi it could be a little bit different, where more or less the polling stations are near. But when it comes to the rural polling stations, from where I sit, I wouldn't say 3,000 is much, you see, or even 4,000 is much, because of the difficulties that these people actually undergo. Remember, I have had the benefit of being a returning officer myself. The clerks, 2 days to the polling station, they literally work 48 hours in a day, you see. By the time they pick those boxes, they travel to their polling stations, they go there, they start preparing, it's now down, they start voting, the voting process, they go on counting, sometimes counting goes up to late into the night, they transport those boxes again to the tallying center. You know, it's a whole 48 hours, sometimes even more.
And the monies do not come immediately,
non-stop. No, whether it comes immediately or not, to me, for as long as the money is there. For as long as the money is there. So I will not compare that work with the kazi mtaani kind of business. Remember, in kazi mtaani, mheshimiwa, what happens, I think you've seen. They go slash for 2 hours or pick some papers for 2 hours and
relax
they go
a
home.
bit and then go
they
home.
basically go. You see, so that's a little bit different. But to me, the most important thing is, for as long as those are devolved funds, I'm looking at it that way, then it's quite useful at that
Just
local level.
if you allow, look at it in this way. Yeah? A teacher, the entry point of a graduate into the civil service is around 23,000.
Yeah.
Yeah? This person is being paid 3,000 a day. So 3 times 30. That gives you 90. So it means they are being paid at 90,000. They are being paid 90,000.
It's a one-time
when the
pay,
entry
Mahesh.
point, when the entry salary for a graduate is 23. I'm talking about the lowest employee of the process, the clerk. Now I'm not talking about the returning officers, the county returning officer, the constituency returning officer, the guys at the IBC, now the road at anniversary towers. Somebody somewhere is taking $500,000 home just as a sitting allowance for that day the boards have been. And there's a lot of areas where they can squeeze the budgets so that they don't bring up this whole huge budget. The budgets are scaring, for heaven's sake. And what they are doing, and most of it, they are given transport also. Because you report to the tallying center, you have a vehicle which will take you together with the ballot boxes to the polling station, and when the counting is done, you also accompany the same boxes in a vehicle provided by IBC. So actually you will spend like 500 on lunch and the rest. It's okay when you have the money, but looking at our economy, for heaven's sake, a clerical officer earns 14,000 per month. Someone earns 3,000 per day doing clerical work.
But for how long, Mheshimiwa? For how long?
It's like, let's say they work for 2 or 3 days.
Only?
So they make 9,000.
Only?
9,000, we are less 4,000 to get the salary of a clerical officer
Mheshimiwa,
for a whole month.
You can come in. You can come in.
I think these...
It's 9,000 in 5 years, you know that. Unless there are by-elections and in most cases all this.
But this one also is
that
actually we cannot compare about a clerical officer or a teacher who is coming into service. Because in this case, this teacher has obviously some commute allowance. This teacher has medical cover. This teacher will have pension allowance, and there is security of tenure of service. And therefore, the issues, as it has been said, I think we should not be more concerned about what is coming to the person at the grassroots. What should concern us is what is happening to that budget at anniversary towers. So that the right money is when they reach the people at the grassroots, even the economy, the rural economy wakes up and it starts to rise. Therefore, I think even if we pay more for those 5 days and we have a credible election, a credible election is invaluable. We cannot actually measure it on the kind of monies that are being paid. If we get a credible, accountable election, that has no value. And therefore, I think we should look at anniversary towers and actually even consider ensuring that those at the rural economies who are supervising these elections are very well remunerated in view of the fact
that...
all right, the welfare models...
For the last 2 quarters...
In the best interest of time, yes.
Yes, for the last 2 quarters of our budget, the government has not leased by the capital enumeration they give for free secondary education. You know, the 22,000 per kid in the for the secondary schools and the special day schools, that money has not been released.
We still are not sure whether there is free education anyway, based on what it is.
Yes.
And so I somehow...
So if that money has not been released, and we are talking of close to 1 million clerks, I think we may disagree, we may agree, but... Let
IBC work with what they have as of now?
No, they need to be added something, but not at the tune they are talking of.
Okay.
Yes, there are some areas they can adjust themselves and if the chief agent, who is the chairman, can earn 100,000 allowance instead of 500, and the clerk gets 1,500 instead of 3,000, and we are talking of 1 million clerks across the country, that's coming to like $1 trillion shillings. You know, we are not talking of two people being paid 300 shillings.
All right.
Shillings.
Well, let's close that conversation. I know is one that we can have different views on.
Yeah.
And time is moving very fast. We have about 10 minutes, so they're about to wind up, and so that means we can't even expound further on some of the economic models or the welfare models that are being presented by our presidential hopefuls. Yeah. But your presidential candidate and your party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, hugely castigates what the DP presents, hugely reminded his friend Right Honorable Raila Odinga that, well, in as much as you'd want to present goodies to the people of Kenya, or things that would entice them to vote for you, let's all be practical and realistic. How realistic and practical is his proposal in comparison to what the likes of BABA are presenting?
Well, the problem, and I would want to put it in quotes, the problem with my party leader is that he's so honest with himself and with Kenyans. And unfortunately, Kenyans don't want honest leaders. That is the problem.
And that costs him
even us, as we go out to campaign, you see, I could go, even at my level as a parliamentarian, I can go there. In fact, I've had one person who is eyeing that same seat, telling people that once you elect me, now we'll go to a village and there's no water. You see. And I'm told there's no water. I say, well, water is a devolved function. From my kitty, I can't do it. But one goes there and he's educated, he has a degree, and tells them, people, you see, mheshimiwa ameshindwa kuwaletea maji hapa. If you elect me within the first 4 weeks, nitawaletea maji. And the people clap, and now they think now that is the savior that they are waiting for.
Yeah.
That is the problem with our electorate. Surely, in this country, where do you get 6,000 people for everybody who is not employed? Where?
6,000 shillings.
6,000
monthly.
Yeah, 6,000. From where? No.
It is,
and if we cannot,
the problem our country,
even if right now we in my constituency, I have a question in Parliament. There is that 2,000 which is supposed to be given for those people 70 years and above. The country cannot afford to recruit more. And these are not many people, by the way. When you talk of that kind of age group, there are very few compared to the unemployed youth. You see, and it's 2,000. The government stopped recruiting, I think 2-3 years ago. They are struggling to pay those ones who are there. And now you come and say, I'll do this. And people, so this is, but that is how politics works, unfortunately. That politics doesn't work on reality. It works on enticing people, telling people what they would want to hear. And now when my party leader comes and tells them this can't work, he's seen like the one who is now refusing to give them money.
But we're trying to be progressive, Mheshimiwa. We're trying to be progressive, and we're hoping that changes can be incorporated. And many say that this is happening in other countries, and the reason why we bring new leadership is because we have the hope that in this new leadership we're going to see some level of change. Why don't we give the likes of the people who are representing their own models the benefit of that?
In these other countries where it's happening, we don't have the kind of corruption that we have. Let's be realistic. People come everywhere and start talking about the Asian tigers, how they left us. For those who left us, they simply dealt with corruption. They didn't deal with models. They just dealt with corruption. And that is where the problem is.
And you think Baba cannot do that? Or maybe
he's not addressing
the DP cannot do that?
He's not, none of them is addressing the issue of corruption. And then the other issue about the huge debts that we are having, which is taking basically all what you are generating in this country. Where are you going to get the 6,000 from? And you will realize the huge debt, a bigger percentage of it actually went into corruption. That is where the problem is. And I think that is where now my party leader stands alone when it comes to these issues. He goes to the core points. I'm going to handle the debt. We are going to handle corruption. And of course, corruption has brought down all the sectors of this economy. The huge power bills, of course, were treated for the last 2 weeks with the KPLC, the way they brought themselves down, and they continue bringing themselves down. The power generating companies, those independent power, everything is down because of corruption. How are you going to restrict the economy of this country, which you need investors to invest in this country to create jobs, and yet the whole energy sector is in tatters.
Okay.
You know, even the fuel prices that you are talking about, the so high fuel prices, it's all, if you look at it, the bigger budget of it is in corruption. That is where the problem is. So to me, from where I sit, we are a long way to getting the right leaders, and this starts from the MCAs. I'm not talking, it's not just about the presidency. From the MCAs, parliamentarians, be it senators, governors, women reps, because the voter himself does not want to be addressed on the real issues. Yeah, he just wants to be massaged, and he feels good and he elects, but not remembering that that leader will be there for the next 5 years, until on the last year that he'll be told new stories again, elect again. So at the end of the day, we are an enemy of ourselves, Linda.
Forget about the votes, Honorable Nimrod, before I come to you, Wakili. Why should you think that the people of Kenya are going to buy into the models that are presented by you, by the party that you affiliate to, that again have been labeled as those that are not practical?
Linda, we can't say these models are not practical, because we've seen them. We have history of models being practical. And the last time I was here, I think I gave an example of Mbingwa Mutharika in Malawi. When Mbingwa Mutharika was coming to power, he said he'd work on the agricultural sector of the economy, and Malawi will be in a position to feed itself and also help its neighbors. And when Mbingwa Mutharika became the president, you know, like the way our president is in charge of internal security, Minister of State, security, Mbingwa Mutharika said the office of the president will be in charge of agriculture. And the guy was working on agriculture every day. And in 2 years of Mbingwa Mutharika's leadership, he gave relief food to Kenya. When 2 years before Mbingwa Mutharika, they had food deficit. They were receiving relief food. So these ideologies work, because give the benefit of doubt to someone. There are people who are meant to get things working. Even the simple things, you are a presenter here. There's someone with another program and someone with another program. And based on your way of doing things, you see you have more viewership. And your way of doing things is bringing more revenue to this company. So when, and I take it from the Deputy President William Ruto. You know, the Deputy President William Ruto, we know where he has come from. Either we like it or we don't like it, but we know the guy started from selling chicken on the road. And he is now a Deputy President. He never corrupted to be a Deputy President. Wait
a minute, how much do we know that? And someone is asking, is all right, you'll come back to that very note, but he says, ask Mheshimiwa, what is this model that, you give a class 1 child a laptop, and then once they're done with high school and, with campus, then you give them a wheelbarrow?
You know, the wheelbarrow is not a wheelbarrow, it's a symbol.
It's a symbol. It's
yes,
not,
ODM is not giving oranges. Yes. Wiper is not giving umbrellas. For the Kenya is not giving.
Is this narrative changing after, there's been a lot of bashing?
If the symbols were what was going to be handed over, Kanu is not giving chicken to people.
But
so the wheelbarrow is a symbol tool for working. A wheelbarrow is a same symbol, and it shows the simplicity we are going to put into working. That very local person will be empowered to work. And kazi ni kazi. Even when you get a wheelbarrow, go to the Marikiti here and you find a whole mother. She's when Kanju comes, she has all her wares on the back. Then another mother here who was lucky enough, she got a wheelbarrow. She can push her things. What this mother needs, who is having her wares on the back, is a wheelbarrow or a mkokoteni to help her get her wares back to the store. So the simplicity of the tool of work, a wheelbarrow does not need fuel. You don't need a driving license. So that's the simplicity we want to apply in building this economy.
Emmanuel Wako is so much on your case and keenly watching this. He says, should these people be in the streets in the first place, selling the things that they're selling down there in, a government that is functioning? How about we take a short break? I'm told I'm given about a grace period of 10 minutes for us to wind up on the same. So we take a quick break, come back on that, and then we wind up after this break.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC Nighting with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister? Give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Tunaweza tumia hii tenje tutesiwe do.
Mimi naitwa Ben. Mimi ndo rafiki ya babako.
Tumeleta dozi zako, usimize mtoto.
And now we have to deal with a drug addict.
Yaani ulio mzai wako.
I had to.
Sema! Dozi zangu ziko wapi?
Ben!
Tuishini Uganda.
The road to 2022 is becoming tougher and trickier with each passing day.
Na wawache kuja kutuletea makasiriko.
Political aspirants in a dilemma whether to change allegiance or not.
Nonetheless, you have justified your change of stance.
It's my bloody personal politics.
Tell them this. They could have gone to do law so that they become judges. They do not have the capacity, training, or skill to interpret a court order.
As a journalist, you have also had occasion to actually do some research. Read the judgment of
the nature of our job to have. The question is very specific.
Listen to me.
My question is very specific.
The wheelbarrow is as simple. The way every other political party is as simple.
And why should these women be in the streets anyway?
Because that's an industry all over the world. We have groceries all over the world. The talk of even the first world countries.
But we can build circles, nice circles for them.
That's now what makes us a third world country.
Okay.
Because we have to grow from there. Just go to countries like India. They are doing it worse than we are doing it.
Yes.
They are so worse in the streets than the streets of Kikomba. And because they are growing. You know what we are calling the cottage industries, which is one of the things that the wheelbarrow envisages. Because you give loans to people who have the knowledge. Instead of going for employment, they go for an industry. Take, for example, a medical graduate looking for a job in Nairobi. This guy will be employed on a very small salary with no room to grow in any other areas. But if this guy was enabled by the government to create wealth using his knowledge, he is empowered to get a loan, rent a house, get the best equipment on loan, and start treating people, employ a nurse, employ a records officer, and within 5 years, 10 years, the guy will have prepaid his loan.
Normally these ones are not sure deals, and we still have access to loans today.
In fact, it will not just work on this basis. If all the graduates, medical practitioners opened private hospitals, because these are private hospitals, where will the people get the money to come and visit those private hospitals? Remember, as we are talking right now, in your constituency, probably yours is different, but in my constituency, people are dying from very basic illnesses at home because they cannot even afford to go to a public hospital where they'll be asked to pay 200 shillings. And here you are saying, with your model, if you give this guy loans and he opens a private hospital somewhere in Kitui, he'll make wealth. From who? Where are the clients?
But it's very true and it's practical. It's practical. Mheshimiwa is very practical. We have young guys who, by luck, who managed to get some sort of capital after graduation, and today they own very big hospitals. Reason, you add the knowledge, then you have an entrepreneurship mind, and you add some source of capital, so you could make it. And as we speak today, more people are going to Aga Khan, and it's more expensive compared to Mama Lucy. Reason, because of the facility. The facility. Go to all the beds in Aga Khan.
Live in a different world.
Go to Aga Khan. All the beds are full with COVID-19 people. In Mama Lucy, there is no single COVID-19 person. Reason, there is no ICU bed.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the things we are looking at.
Go to Mugurua.
Go to Mugurua.
They choose to be at home. Yes.
I'm a vendor in meat and chapati and the rest. Or I'm producing. I'm a carpenter. You know, those guys doing very nice local beds and local timber products. Imagine if that guy was empowered in a way to make that very local, to make these standard furniture, but at the local level, instead of importing furniture, which we are finding costing millions in our ministers and our speakers and MPs offices. Yeah, that's what when we talk of bottom up, these are the people we need to empower. And instead of giving them free cash, for heaven's sake, you give a grand rate, 6,000 free cash every month, instead of getting the guy money, capital, for that, so that he can pay back and use his knowledge to build more money, instead of just waiting for a stipend by the end of the month. Some people are thinking back in the Neanderthal world.
Elvis originally is watching, says we need Mheshimiwa to come in, so at least we are fair to him. There's one who says the bottoms-up approach has never worked in any country, notably. What it is that the Tanga side is looking at is what Biden speaks of. But that's America, just a reminder. And well, we can only wait to see whether it will work in America. What will be the guarantee that it works in the country anyway?
Okay, I think when I talk, we talk about the three models that are being propagated mainly by the Hustler Nation, that is the bottoms up, and the Welfare Society for the former Prime Minister, and Uchumi Bora for ANC. I think our leading presidential candidates, they are concentrating more on what others are saying, instead of expounding more on what they want to do for this country, so that they can carry along the people with them as they deliver them to their leadership that they would expect come next year. So, and when you look at them, like now the bottom up, what is being said is that you just bring funding to the local level. And I don't know why anybody would think that that model would not work. Because you have seen it working with the CDF. When the CDF was not there, all those developments you are seeing in constituencies, they happened when the first form of devolution came down. And that is why, as the County Assembly's Forum, in the BBI bill that collapsed, we had said that the ward should be the primary unit of development. So that the money does not only come to the constituency and the county, but it also comes to the ward. And that is all bottoms up is about.
Money, that is trickle down.
Yes. Not trickle down.
It is coming from up going to the ward.
No, it is
not coming from the wards.
It is allocated at the grassroots level. You know, for now, we are waiting for somebody sitting in Nairobi to come and say that we want to build a toilet at a particular ward. These guys don't understand this thing.
Is it not what devolution then is giving us today?
That at the allocation of the resources, at the horizontal level, that more resources comes to the counties.
Is it not what devolution is doing, and is that not trickle-down effect? And sometimes I get confused. What is trickle-down versus
what we are saying is that most of the monies should come to the grassroots. As of now, actually we are getting, it is not trickle-down, because all these monies are collected by the central government, and then it stays there.
Okay.
What we are saying that most of these monies should be allocated at the grassroots, where the people themselves feel the issues that concern them. So that when they have an issue at the ward level, like in Nyandara, we know that this is an area for potato growth. We put more money on fertilizer subsidies, on these chemicals that are used to take care of the potatoes, and all those other issues, even in the cottage industries, to add some value to that potato. That money, if allocated from Nairobi, where we live, here in Nairobi, a concrete jungle, we leave 80% of the agriculture budget. This money, we need it at the grassroots.
Is it not what devolution addresses? Is it not what the BBI was proposing? I don't know whether we
need to get a clarity between the trickle down and the
bottoms up.
What is happening in Kenya today, even with the devolution, is trickle down.
Yes.
Where the people in government make decisions on what mwananchi will benefit from.
Down. Yeah.
What mwananchi will benefit from. Even the CDF is not the best advantage of bottom up, because this is given to a committee with an MP who will decide a class will be done there, and it will be done by this contractor. What we are saying is this: imagine that mother who is out there and is ready to work from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. What they are lacking is they only have 3,300 shillings.
Yeah.
And if they could get 2,000 shillings, they could triple their stock. How we get that extra 2,500 to that mother so that she can make a decision, void of the MP, void of the MCA, void of the government, so that she can add our...
Are we not going to go to levels where we'll say we don't need representations
surely, Mheshimiwa, let's be honest. One,
because we are breeding,
right?
we are looking
at
we are trying to make people so dependent on the government. Have you ever seen a normal government budget? You know, you are presented with a budget, and let's say I'm the Ministry of I'm in the Committee of Interior.
Yeah.
And the first thing, actually, Mheshimiwa will agree with you, the first 4 items on our budget is salaries, foreign travel, local travel. For heaven's sake, are we talking of foreign travel, or we are talking of this money that is going to unnecessary foreign travel being given to Mama Mboga to add her stock, being given to a border guy to move from a border to a border spare part shop so that he can grow, being given to a carpenter who can do more, actually 10 times, if he was equipped with more timber and better
you see the same members of parliament travel with these budgets, and they pass these budgets as we close.
Mheshimiwa, and unfortunately we all handle CDF, and I think you're having a very nice campaign platform the way you are saying, but truly you are also being unfair to yourself or to the nation, because when you look at the CDF, the point where you are saying now is the member of parliament and his committee who sit and decide. Maybe that's what happens in your constituency, but it is wrong. Even legally, it is wrong. It can't be that way. You start by public participation. Don't you hold meetings in your constituency for the people to decide which projects? Maybe you do it differently. That's what you are telling us. But remember, now you are going against the law. Let me just put it very clearly. These projects for CDF, they start by public participation. They identify the projects that they want. And then they work through the project management committees. These are the local people who manage these projects. Of course, as a member of parliament, you would also try to say that the contractors are also local, you see. So the money goes there. But now, Mheshimiwa is coming with a campaign slogan that with the bottoms up is that you'll be giving money to every Mama Mboga and every boda and whatever. This one, Linda, come 9th August, let's hope it goes their way, for that matter, in courts. And we'll be coming here and we'll be seeing whether they can distribute money to those. It can't work. There is no mechanism. You know, right now, Mheshimiwa, we have Uwezo Fund. Or don't you have? You have Uwezo Fund. We have Youth Fund. We have Gotv. We have which other fund? I think we have like 5 funds, you see, which are government funds. You know, these are not banks. These are government funds, which are meant to assist the people that you are talking about. But the problem is the management of those funds, you know. By the time it starts from Nairobi up to the time it reaches that person, and that person is not because of the trickle down, it's because of corruption. Money is just lost. Even for those elderly people, there are others where the money just disappears. And
now the trickle down thing, Mheshimiwa,
we have to close.
You just said it. Why should it start from Nairobi? Why can't it start from the bottom? Why should we also start from the
money is at the national government.
Yeah, so it has to be
money goes to the national government. Treasury sits in Nairobi.
Then it gives the money to who?
Then it goes down. Now it trickles down to the people.
You know, then we are saying it should not trickle down to people. It should go straight to the people. Then it starts coming up.
The practicability of that? Well, anyway,
why not?
Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is a debate that continues to be on, all in a bid to enlighten the common mwananchi. So as you go and make that decision, it should be based on a proper understanding, you know, and yes, the practicability of it all. It's all right, it's happening in other countries, and we all cross fingers that we'd get to that level. But as many would argue, we still have a long way to go. Thank you so much. Last speaker, Nimrod Mai, Member of Parliament, Kitui East, Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza, Member of Parliament, Matuga, and lastly, Wakili Ndego Wahome, Speaker of Nyandarua County. Thank you so much. We close it at that. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. All right, 30 seconds.
I'm not actually saying anything out in the debate, because the debate, we have said it will continue, is that I would want to thank everybody, and especially the County Assemblies Fraternity and all the local authorities within the East Africa, that is Rwanda, Burundi,
congratulations
Tanzania,
for that.
Uganda and Kenya.